Hello, I'm Daniel. I am going to give a talk on the subject of generosity today. Generosity. And I'm going to read a verse from the 37 Practices of a Bodhisattva. And this verse is called Training in Generosity. And I'm going to recite that verse and then I'm going to comment on it. Generosity is part of a list, and you don't really need to know this, but part of a list called the Six Perfections, and we're going to end up going through all of them in future talks, but it's the first one. So, and a Bodhisattva is one who's trying to unleash their full potential, which is what we're doing with these practices and these teachings. We're trying to unleash our full potential for mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom. Okay? So here it is. Training in generosity. If, when wishing for enlightenment, one must give up even one's body, so giving up external objects goes without question. Therefore, it is the practice of bodhisattvas to be generous without any hope for reward or positive result. So, we're talking about giving. We're talking about giving that is not transactional. What does that mean? That means if you give to someone with an expectation that they will like you, that's transactional. So even if you're not giving to them so they give you something back, you're still having an expectation. So it's still transactional. But if you give for no reason, just to give, that's not transactional. That's not transactional. And also, it gets a little sticky. Like if you're giving to make yourself feel good, that's sort of transactional too. So there used to be a homeless guy, or I don't know that. There used to be a guy with a sign that stood at the off-ramp of the highway when I go to work. Okay, so I'd get off the highway and the guy was there. And what I liked to do was pull fruit out of my lunch, because I pack a lunch every day. And I liked to give him fruit out of my lunch, an apple, strawberries, oranges, whatever, because my inclination is to believe that if you're homeless and if you're struggling, you're probably not getting fresh fruit. And so I liked to give that. He's not out there anymore, but I liked to give that to him when I was able to stop. And sometimes on that off-ramp I wasn't able to stop safely. But when I was able to stop safely, I'd like to give him fruit. And gosh, I guess I'm telling you that because we drive right by a lot of, at least here in my city, I drive by a lot of homeless people when I go into the city. Not a lot, but they're around. And it's something I think we as a society don't really want to think about, homelessness. But it felt good for me to give to that gentleman. And so I think it was transactional, because I'm reflecting about it. I think it was transactional. I think it was. I'm going to give him fruit. I'm going to feel good about that. Nobody else is giving fruit. I feel good about it. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about just generosity, just giving with nothing. I just give. Okay? And that's, that said, giving to feel good about yourself is probably the I would rank it as the best transactional form of giving, I guess. But anyway, people tend to think that generosity means just giving material things, and that's not the case. Not necessarily, anyway. We can give all sorts of things. The easy things to think of are material things, like fruit, giving money, giving, right? But donating to charity. But the truth is, we can give all sorts of things. We can give our time. We can give our patience. We can give our love. We can offer our presence. So to be there when someone needs us, to listen when someone needs to talk, and really just listen rather than waiting for your turn to talk or trying to relate it to your own experience, but really just listen. That's a form of generosity. Because of our meditation practice, we can be more mindfully present. We can listen instead of waiting to talk all the time. At least I hope so. I hope we can learn that skill. And pay attention when attention is needed. And we can also try to give understanding instead of judgment. That's generosity too. That's in short supply in the world today, it seems like. When we pay attention to what others are going through, we can better understand how to interact with them in ways that are helpful. Generosity is a wonderful practice, and the Buddha said that when we start to be angry at someone, we can practice generosity in order to soften that anger. That just sort of like when somebody says, if you're unhappy, smile, and you'll start to feel a little happier. Sort of like that. It is, if you start to give to someone, it will soften your heart toward them. That's what the Buddha recommended. I think of also, when I think of generosity, I think of like the simple act of helping somebody move, because that involves our time, our energy, our effort. And I mean, if I'm helping somebody move, then because of me, they didn't have to hire a mover. So really, there's a financial benefit to them. Well, or it would have taken way longer without me, right? So I think of helping somebody move as a powerful form of generosity. And we don't think of that. We think of that as just something we do. And so that's something to think about. And then if you've ever done the practice of delivering food to someone who has lost a loved one, that seems like a thing a lot of people do that we don't really talk about very much. But when my father passed away, my mother did not have to cook for me for a long time, because people from our church, which we hardly ever went to, but still, people from our church came and brought dinner every night for a month, I think. And so I think of that. That is powerful generosity, right? It is getting together with other people and saying, all right, how are we going to help these people? How are we going to take care of these people? So I think we can think of generosity in a broader way and just reflect and think, what can I give today? In what ways am I not being generous? That's good. I like that. In what ways am I not being generous? In what ways am I not giving to others? And I sort of think being vulnerable is a kind of generosity too, because it's not normal to have an open heart to others. So I sort of think being vulnerable, being genuine and giving real talk and being honest, these are all forms of generosity too. We can think of it very broadly when we're trying to cultivate it. So that's it. This was Training in Generosity. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me. Have a good day.